Hey guys, I just wanted to apologize for some camera malfunction and some audio problems. Hope you enjoy the video. We're here with Forrie J. Smith, also known as Lloyd, off of Yellowstone. Yellowstone, he plays a pretty bad guy, but I'm going to tell you guys the truth, this is a good-hearted man here. He sure helped me out a lot when I was younger. Let me crash on his couch when I tore up pretty bad from a rodeo. But he's just a good guy, man. Don't let that TV show fool you.
You're wearing a buckle that I sponsored too, ain't you?
Yes, sir, and it cost me the most, probably. That's the one I laid on your couch over.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I guess we'll get into it. Let's see. What is your favorite horse tack and why?
Well, got a saddle here my granddad made, and it's older than I am. It was built by Dan Buck and Bill Knapp, and the original ranch in Montana was bought from the Knapps, and Dan Buck was the livestock inspector. When my granddad bought it, he had a higher camel on it, and so he couldn't rope calves out of it. My mom breakaway roped and run barrels in it, and as close as we can figure, he got it in like 56 or yeah. I think she said she went to the National High School Finals in 56, and she's riding this saddle. He'd given it to my aunt, and she hung it on the wall in her house. And I was up there, I was nursing a broken collarbone. I had to pick up broncs at Mescalero. I only had one saddle. And Granddad said, "You need more than one saddle." He says, "I hate to be an Indian giver, but," he said, "I had that saddle made to be used, not hang on a wall." So he went over and took it off the wall, my aunt's wall, and gave it to me. And he says, "I want it used. Don't ever hang it on a wall again." And my granddad gave me this saddle, his Blucher boots, and his Colt 45. Can't honor a cowboy much better than that.
No, sir. Those are amazing things to get.
And then he had the camel cut down and soaked it and jacked it back, and he went to roping calves in it, and I got a picture of him roping calves in the saddle. And I'm trying to think if I've been bucked out of it. The only time I remember getting on a horse at a hunter jumper place in Carbondale, Colorado, and they was bad to buck, and they bought him out of New Mexico somewhere. Gruey horse, weighed about 900. So I took him down in the paddock where all they were riding around in their little tight pants and helmets and stuff. He didn't have much steering or anything going for him, so I was like, well, might as well get it over. And I clucked to him, and this sonbuck come undone. And when it was over, I was sitting on the ground with my reins in my hand, swells in it. He bucked me, saddle and bridle, everything off.
Straight over.
Jumped the paddock and went back to his stall. I went back up. Trudy Glifke, who's a Grand Prix champion, and Mario Sandoval, who was barnman for the Olympic team for 10 years. That's who he'd been bucking them off. And I came back and I said, "No, you guys ain't losing your stuff."
That sucker bucks.
So, I rode some dang sure bucking horses with it. I got the little choke breast collar. I get one that's really bad to buck. I'll put this on him tight. You have about 3-4 jumps in him
before he runs out of air.
Sucking air, and he'll pick his head up and go to riding.
Yes, sir. Good looking saddle.
Yeah, and,
Considering how old it is too, it's been kept good.
Dan Buck, who one of the makers on this, was a livestock inspector. Well, everybody is busy. My stepdad had passed away. I was about 8 or 9 years old. I had a mare called Wendy that, well, you didn't play with a rope on her. You know, you could go drag calves or whatever you wanted, but you're out riding across the pasture or something, you probably just want to keep your rope coiled up. I think it's probably from me roping bushes and snapping, they breaking loose and
Popping her in the butt
and stuff. But we had to inspect them cows, and I was the only one there. So I'm waiting for Dan, and Dan unloads his big dun horse, and he got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. I come riding up, and didn't have a rope. And he said, well, I thought they told me I had a hand working with me today. I said, well, yeah, I'll sort them cows by one at a time so you can check the brands on them. He says, well, if you ain't got a rope, you're just a traveler. So to this day, when you see Forrie J horseback, I'll
And got a rope on you? Yes,
probably
sir.
have a rope, dang sure have a rope in my hand. Because I can do a little more than just travel a horseback. And that's the story on that saddle.
Well,
I
that's...
use it, I ride colts in it right now. Them 3 colts standing out there get to wear it. And I'm just honored that my granddad gave me a saddle that's Colt 45 and his Blucher boots.
Yes, sir.
And the story on Blucher boots is they were the first boots to come out with a pointed toe on them. And it was the big hit of the Cowboys because they could pick a stirrup up. You got one bucking, the squared toes, you can't get the
Yeah,
stirrup
you blow that
back.
stirrup, it's hard to catch
Yeah,
again.
where with that pointed toe, you could stick it in that stirrup. So every cowboy had to have a pair of Blucher
Boots.
pointed toes, Blucher boots.
Yes, sir. Can you tell us about the worst bronc you've drawn and the story about your favorite saddle horse?
There's a couple of them worst broncs. There's a big black thoroughbred horse Surrey used to have called Big Bud. And the only guy I ever seen get by him was Glenn Ford, Bruce Ford's brother. And he would I'd ask him, how'd you get by Big Bud? He said, I didn't wear no spurs. I'd like, yeah, right. But I drew him at Sydney, Iowa, and this horse walked on his front end. He would hop and skip and take big leaps in the air. And he bucked me off, helicoptered me across there. Sydney, I don't know if it's the same as it used to be, but they had an emergency shack right next to the roping box. And he helicoptered me off there, and I spun around with my head right at the door. The EMTs didn't have any trouble getting to me. Held me up, and I sat down in there, got my breath, and they gave me some muscle relaxers. I went right from there over the bridge to the beer, the complimentary beer for the Cowboys, and took the
Yes,
pills.
sir. The little beer tent.
Yeah, and I think I was traveling with Chuck Logue and Wes Ward, and they were like, "You gonna get your gear?" I said, "Yeah, after another beer." Then I had there's another horse called Tom Horn, a Surveys. That's a little horse, and I can't believe he could jerk a guy down like he would. He was notorious. He jerked me down the second round at San Antonio, broke my sternum. At the whistle, I split the set up, and he jerked me down.
And them sternum cracks ain't no joke.
Oh, they don't heal very good.
No, it seemed like 2 years before mine ever got back together. They hurt.
Between broken ribs and the broken sternum, I had a girdle in the bottom of my rigging bag. I cut the bottom out of it where I could suck that girdle and put everything together.
Yes, sir. Whatever it takes, huh?
Yeah. And my favorite saddle horse story would have to be Old Buck. He was the last horse that my granddad kind of engineered the breeding on. His mama goes back to his calf roping horses, and I just thought of another one. That old buck on my first movie, Desperado, movie of the week, Desperado, and he, I'd been riding him on set and stuff. So they come down, I was also wrangling on it, and I had the part, and they come down, we gotta get you makeup, hair and makeup. They're gonna do a little piece on you this afternoon. I gotta saddle my horse. Oh, no, we need you now, I said, no, I'm a cowboy first. And cowboys saddle their own horses. Red Wolverton, the livestock coordinator, comes up. I have Buddy, we're down at the ranch now. He says, you go. He says, we'll saddle your horse. So I go get the wardrobe and makeup and come back. And there's old Buck still standing there bare at the trailer. My saddle and everything setting out behind him. And the knot on the lead rope was so tight I couldn't get it undone. He wasn't going to
He wasn't happy about that. That actually kind of reminded me of something I heard, and I can't remember who the director was, but I know he was talking about Slim Pickens, and he said, let's see how he put it. He said, I can make a cowboy into an actor, but I can't make an actor into a cowboy.
Yeah.
And that always stuck out to me, and I can't remember who said that, dang it.
What I like, one of the quotes was Robert Duvall on Lonesome Dove. He says, I don't know how to ride, but I'm an actor enough. I can act like I can ride.
Act like it.
Damn sure did.
Yes, sir. Man, I don't know, some of that wardrobe plays a big part. I remember watching him in True Grit, and dang shinks were dang sure worn. They didn't look like brand new.
They're supposed to be, but the new True Grit, I didn't know. But yeah, in the original True Grit, that was real. They did a real job. And the remake, I didn't much care for. The horses looked like they were all groomed up to go to a horse show and stuff instead of out there living
yes,
the rough
sir.
life. Them guys didn't care about their manes and tails, and they just.
It was a lot different.
I've got another story. I had a saddle horse called Cricket that would have been an aunt to old Buck, and I just got old enough to be in the seniors division at the junior rodeos. Well, I would have Mom sign it, and I would, because they didn't want me riding rough stock till I was at least 16 years old. So Mom would sign the entry blanks, I'd get it notarized, and then I would check the bareback riding and the blue riding and stuff. So they decided they couldn't let me go to rodeos by myself. So the Butte Junior Rodeo, I was entering the calf roping, and my granddad went over there with me. And they had Claude Rynell from Camp Verde, Arizona, had a bunch of crossbred Bramer calves at dang sure runs. It was middle of August. They had been roping them all year. These 7 bucks were darts now. And everybody was borrowing a horse out of there, a big stud horse out of Arizona, instead of using the little ranch horses to catch these calves. And they were catching them about mid-arena. I come riding in on Buck, Cricket, and my granddad was standing against the hockey shoot. He had a bad knee. Had his checkered Scotch coat on, cattleman's hat. He's standing against this bucking shoot. And Ralph Fisher was the announcer, and he knew Granddad. And he's telling everybody, he says, this horse this kid's riding was raised right here in Montana. This is a Montana bred, Montana raised, Montana trained horse. This ain't no transplant from Arizona or something. I rolled in there, and back then I was watching the other day, you always turn your horses towards the cattle. Nowadays you guys turn them away from the cattle, so I don't understand.
Bad habits.
Anyway, I turned around back during the box, and Granddad had told me, he says, you ever have to take more than 3 swings, come home, we'll put you on a different horse. By God, I didn't have to take more than 3 swings. And We had crossbred cattle that we practiced on, but nothing like this little brindle I rode. After we banged him on the back of his head, he, sorry about that, guys.
Oh, no problem.
He come up the rope at me. So Cricket went to running backwards, and she got her butt up against the bucking chutes. And I got the calf thrown down and tied down, win the calf. But I'll never forget riding by my granddad. He had that old bad knee, and he's kind of hunched over from being a cowboy. As I rode by, Ralph was talking about this mare being raised in Montana, and Granddad rode raised good horses and won a lot of match races. So by the time I rode by him, he was standing up straight, had his hat cocked.
Proud moment.
It was a proud moment for me, too. But them were my two favorite horses, was old Buck. And this gray mare out he got out here, she's been a hell of a horse, too.
I guess she's over here. Can't see her right now. What would you say the biggest change in cowboying has come since your childhood?
Stock trailers and four-wheelers.
The
There's a ruination of horses. I was sitting in a horse sale, Parker's horse sale in Billings, Montana. A legend up there, L.C. Johnson. And I asked him, I says, L.C., look at that horse with bobbing. I says, you know, when I was a kid going to sales and stuff with Granddad, you never seen them bobby horses. He says, no, kid. He says, they'd ride one and lead another one out to work. He says, so the horse they're leading probably was a good horse. He'd be warmed up and stretched out by the time he got there. The other horse, you know, they get long trot him out, you know, wherever they got.
put miles on the young one.
Yeah, he says now they load them in a damn trailer and take them out to the corrals or wherever they're going to work, jump them off the trailer and go to working on them, and they cripple them up. You know, hurt their shoulders and stuff. And then the four-wheelers and the side-by-sides, these guys don't have to pack gas into the pumps and the generators and stuff anymore, or pack salt, or pack meal blocks or whatever, like I used to have to do. They load them in the side-by-side and take them out and dump them off now. Sure, horses aren't getting that basic training that they used to get. And, so I would say stock trailers and these four-wheelers are side-by-sides, which I have one now.
A Yellowstone one here.
Thank God, the Yellowstone and Bass Pro Shops, Luke Snyder. But he's going to be pulling the rope and dummy more than anything, probably.
Employed. Put him to work right away.
Well, I did put him right to work. I got home and I had a wagon out in the middle of the yard, and I hooked him under the wagon.
It's a good looking machine, Forrie. With the stock trailers, you mean the length in them and being able to haul cattle around, huh?
Well, hauling the horses out to work instead of
I see.
Instead of long trotting them out.
Yes, sir.
They got warmed up, man. Exercise, your green coat, he got to ride out and watch. People don't understand how much a horse learns from watching other horses. And I've got stories to tell about to back that up.
Yes, sir. What would you say your biggest wreck you've been in involving a horse has been? I guess, other than being hung up, because we know how bad of a wreck that can be.
I just had one pretty bad one here a couple months ago. I was pulling a stick, and I just had a little old stick, but I was wanting this horse. It's one of the horses we just broke the drive. wanted him to get used to stuff around his hind legs, you know, where the tugs are going to be. And I figured that stick would break if I'd gotten a bind. Well, we had to go around the fence and through a corner, and that stick got hung up. Well, I just kept my dally, and when that stick got hung up and run around his hind end, he throwed a fit and went to spinning and got tangled up in that rope. And I thought, well, you know, it might be best I get out of the middle of this. And of course, I always wear spurs. I got hung up somehow. And I got drugged from about here to that tree before I could get turned over to my belly and get unhung. And he took off down the road and went and caught him. Got him home, got that out of me. And driving. That was pretty serious. My son Wilder, he was all excited and upset about it. I'm like, heck, I ain't had an adrenaline rush since that rodeo. I said, I'm okay.
You popped up happy.
Still got some adrenaline glands. But I've been in some with the wagons. Pretty hairy. I was working a pumpkin patch over there in Arizona hauling people, and they had a couple of half-lingers I was driving. And where I picked the people up, they had all these sponsored banners on that orange snow fence. They did not like it right there. And every time, I'd have to be on the edge of my seat, my foot on the brake, and throttle them out of there. Well, the owner, Mrs. Buckaloo, hollers at me. I got a full load, and I just clucked to them, picked them up, clucked them off, got them going, and they're like this. She hollers, Forrie, and I heard her, but I knew what I had going in front of me. She hollers again, and I just kept going. She runs up to the snow fence and hollers, Forrie, I know you can hear me now, you stop. And I picked them up to stop them, put that brake on. These two son of bucks come undone. And I'm yelling at everybody, get off, get off. And I got people, what's the matter, coming up. I got horses upside down under the tongue. I got which was a pipe neck yoke, was drove in the ground, got them anchored. The other one's down on his belly. The other one's like this with the tongue between his legs. I'm like, okay, what was it, ma'am? I got everybody off the wagon. Of course, the guys come running out and unhooked them and got them standing up and stuff. That was pretty hairy.
I bet them people got a little...
Well, no, they dummies didn't even realize, you know,
what was going on.
Get off, get off. They're coming up looking over my shoulder. We're in a wreck here, get off the wagon. I had a pretty good one the other day. The black horse was jacking around and got his head under the neck yoke, and we pulled it up and pulled the bridle off and broke the throat latch. And off we went. And, we probably didn't go from twice as far as my red trailer over there. I got to the fence, and they were smart enough not to run into the fence. Got them stopped. Got the electrical tape out, and I always carry electrical tape on my wagons to tape my tugs. I hook my tugs to the DoubleTree, and I had to tape that throat latch back on him when we got back to the house. Put a foot rope on him. He's a gentleman. I think he's had a foot rope on him before. After that, he never shook his head wrong. If you're going to be with horses, you're going to be working with horses and stuff, you're going to get in wrecks. I remember on Three Amigos, I was hired as an expert horseman, and I went to get my props from the gun belt. Prop guy, he says, well, when was the last time you were bucked off? Or no, have you been bucked off? Well, yeah. I said I didn't get to become what I am, not getting bucked off. he laughed and he says, well, last guy that was in here said he'd never been bucked off. I said, well, he ain't rode.
He didn't get on many. What would you say the advantages of being a cowboy on Yellowstone are versus just an early actor? Or have you seen any?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of advantages in that. Like I was raised with the philosophy that it's not about the money. My granddad was out helping me feed cows. I had to hitchhike home from school. The varsity basketball practice right after school, and then that's lower class practice later. So I'd have time to go home and feed and then go back to basketball practice. He had broke a hip and he was out. He was getting well, and come on, I think I can drive the truck for you tonight. Oh, we did. We fed. We got time to look at my cows. I said, yes, sir. Old 54 Chevy truck with one windshield wiper, and just dropping over the frozen cow turds. And he's smiling, damn, he says, I ain't even gonna break even this year. My grandkid's busting his butt to get out here and feed them and stuff. And he says, I ain't even gonna break even. I said, well, Granddad, why are we doing it? Kid, helping feed our country. We're helping feed America. That's why we're doing it. And I brought that philosophy on set with me. And I told Kevin and I told all the other actors about that story. And, so I understand when they're talking about the taxes and the water and stuff. I've been through it. I've been there. I know what's going on. And then the other little things like when Jimmy won his belt buckle, and everybody's comments on my reaction to that. Well, I just remembered my first belt buckle, and that brought, there was my grandmother was in the hospital. My mom wore that buckle in. She was in ICU, and they wouldn't let kids in back then. She told her, she said, well, they wanted me to be a time together. I wanted to bring back the rough stuff. So if that's what he's going to do, just tell him to be good at it. But yeah, so I had that to go back, for that experience.
To look upon, to pull from in your acting, yes sir.
We got the reaction that I've gotten from the viewers about that scene. So yeah, it helps a lot having a real cowboy background. And Cole Hauser's real good about coming to me and going, hey, where would I be coming from with this? I'm telling why Cowboy would say what he's saying and things up. And I talked with Kevin, and that's one of the great things about Yellowstone is the actors are all so giving. We all talk to each other, we go through the scenes with each other. And, oh, I never thought of that. Yeah, that changes my whole perspective on the situation. So
I bet it's the chemistry like that that's made it such a good show.
yes, it is.
Because there's a lot of westerns coming out today that aren't.
Well,
they're not quality.
Not at all. And Robert Purnell played Adam on Carter. I worked with him on Young Riders. And when he came on set, he had one in his mind how it was going to be. The other actors were going to fall into that. And that's the way it was. Or
Young Riders, you're talking like the Pony Express series?
yeah.
That was a good one. I remember watching that when I was young.
They were good